This is Adam Watson.
Robert Diaz.
You're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. Levon's not here tonight. I don't know if you realize that or not.
Oh, I just thought he was hiding.
Oh, okay. No. He could be. He could be hiding behind something, but no, he's not here tonight. But he did get Inspiratu finished, the first page, so we got that posted.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
It's not really much of anything yet. You kind of have to wait until the second page joins with it, you know. That's the thing about webcomics. Sometimes when you're setting up the pages, you know, the first or even second or third one isn't really much to look at until you've added like 4 or 5.
Well, if you got the first one out, then the next should be out next week, right?
Yeah, we're posting this every Friday. So with any bit of luck, he'll be done with it by Wednesday so we can get it all lettered up and have it posted on Friday.
Oh, he better be done.
Yeah, he better be, or I'll kick him in the ding-dong.
Yeah.
So anyway, got that done. And working on a new Mini Slinger story now.
What sort of direction? Like, what you got a premise you can give?
Yes. Yeah, I can tell you straight up what it's about.
Oh, well,
so
go ahead.
Pat and I work a lot different on this one than I've ever worked with any other artist. We're using something that's called the Marvel method. Have you ever heard of that?
You've talked about it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I go over what it is again, just in case people listening don't know?
Yeah, you might as well.
Okay, so the Marvel method is basically something that Stan Lee created back in I'm going to say the 60s, because he was working on so many titles and it was easier to just have the artist do the majority of the storytelling writing, you know? So it's basically when you just give kind of overview, like a 1-page summary of what's going to happen in this issue, and then the artist goes to town, and then you go back as a writer and letter the pages, right? Well, Pat and I started working like this last Halloween, I think it was, because I got really busy and just did not have the time to get a script completed. So he went ahead and just did it all based off the description I gave him. It worked really well, and we've been working like that ever since. Worked really fantastically. So this Tuesday, which this podcast probably not going to be up before Tuesday. Just going to be honest about that. But this Tuesday, we're posting a second part of what we're kind of considering both a Father's Day special and a baseball prelude. So there will be a baseball story coming this summer. And this is kind of the precursor to that. And it's also just kind of like a nice little bonus. We didn't post them on Father's Day, but, you know, it started right after Father's Day. Little lame mime wants something to do. His dad tells him to go play American baseball because there's so many forms of baseball.
All the different forms.
All the different forms. But I just had to have his dad say American baseball because I thought that was really funny for some reason. So his dad tells him to go play American baseball, and he ends up breaking a lamp inside.
Because he decided he'd play it inside.
He didn't specify where to go. He's 10. If I told Tyler to do something, he'd probably be doing it inside too.
And he is lame mine.
Yeah, exactly. He's a little lame mine. So in any case, sorry, scratch that part. The next story that we're doing involves the kids discovering a comic shop that happens to be owned by their teacher from school, who is the Piper, which is kind of a strange one. I needed somebody to be both their teacher and the guy who owned the comic shop, right? And the Piper is this character I created for a story years ago that was only ever shown so far in the Principalities Convention Edition, which had a print run of like 100 copies. So he's barely appeared in any of my comics, but at some point I'm actually going to be representing those 2 7-page stories that he appeared in a proper format, since I scrapped that version of the Principalities and redid it. He looks kind of like, in that story at least, he's a little bit less realistic looking in Mini Slingers, but he was drawn to look like a combination of Kevin Smith and Ron Jeremy.
Oh, God.
That's what I described to Guillermo, the artist who did the Piper.
That sounds awful.
Right? I said, you know, he's ugly, he's short, he's fat, he's kind of a nerdy guy. Make him basically a combo between Ron Jeremy and Kevin Smith, if you know what those two look like.
Does he have a porn stash?
He's got a porn goatee.
All right.
So it's more like the goatee that Kevin Smith used to have. Does he still have? He's got a full face beard now, right? Has had for a while.
I think it depends on when you see him. He was
Right.
that
He was clean
that one
shaven.
time when I walked by him, he was clean shaven.
Yeah.
And you know, that's still that's probably one of the biggest regrets I have in my life. I still think about that, walking by him and not feeling well enough to go over and bother him. I really wish that I would have went and talked to him.
Yeah, and he's probably a celebrity that likes it when people bother him too. So
I really hope there's another chance in my life to do that.
many Comic Cons as you go to with me, there's a possibility.
Man. Anyways.
You got to take those opportunities when they come, though. Like when I Hulk flexed at Lou Ferrigno.
That sounds pretty good.
It was. I was walking down an aisle at ECC before the show had officially begun, and he was just kind of sitting behind his table, which is rare because most of the time the celebrities do not show up early. So that was kind of the first thought in my head was like, wow, what's he doing here early? Because most of the time celebrities show up like 2 hours late.
Fashionably late.
Right. But he's sitting there and he's super, super nice looking. He just has his arms kind of crossed on the table, has a smile on his face, you know, looks friendly, but kind of also like, okay, it'd be nice if somebody came up here, right? I'm trying to get to my table because, you know, I got to set up and get going for the day. But I'm walking past him and I just have this thought in my head, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. So I turned around and flexed my arms and go, ah! And did the Hulk pose that he used to do in the 70s. He busted up laughing and waved at me, and I was like, yes, I made him laugh.
So what you're saying,
I'm glad he's not going to run after me and beat me up.
what you're saying is I should have Hulk flexed on Kevin Smith.
You know, he's met Lou Ferrigno, so maybe he would have got it. I don't know.
You know, if for some reason he ever hears this,
Mm-hmm.
he's a celebrity. He can find people. He can find me. And
Kevin
he can
Smith.
meet me. Yes.
Well, if he reaches out, I'll give him your address. How about that?
Yeah, I don't care.
You know, Jason Mewes might come and like sleep on your couch. He seems like that kind of guy.
That's okay.
Yeah, I could definitely see him doing that, especially if you're buying him toys.
Although I think he probably has a little too much energy, and it'd tire me out a little bit.
It would tire me out immensely to hang out with that guy, I think.
But I'd like to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Just like I don't think I could keep up.
No, not at all. Not even remotely. But in any case, the next mini slingers. So the Piper owns a comic shop, and the kids have never ever seen comics before. They have no idea what they are, right? So the Popper, so I'm saying the Piper and the Popper, so forgive me if I screw up those two.
No, not going to.
Okay. The Popper, David, Robert, and Todd are walking down the street. They spot this thing. They don't know what it is. So they send Todd to walk through the wall to see what's on the other side, right? Because he's a ghost. He can just go through walls if he wants to. And the sort of running gag towards the end of the spring strips were that Todd had brought some prized possession action figure to show and tell day, and the Piper tried to steal it because it was an action figure he needed to complete his collection, right?
Their teacher tries to steal it.
Yeah, because think about it. When somebody's like a hardcore collector and they finally see the thing they've been after forever, they don't want to let it out of their sight, right?
True.
So the very last strip of the school year, featuring them in school, the Piper is offering Todd $2 for the figure, right? And Todd's like, no, I don't want to sell the figure. And then right before they leave, he's like, how about 20 or something like that, you know? Todd responds the same way. He doesn't want to sell the figure. But now he's just walked into his comic shop. So the Piper thinks he's there to sell him the action figure, right? But where this will all lead to, so there's all this controversy over the last couple of years in the comic industry about who comics are for in this dumbass fucking argument. Because a lot of pros have been telling people online that they don't create their comics for them. Which, let me just state, is a dumb fucking thing to say. Can you imagine if Stephen King went on The Tonight Show? It's one thing for him to go on The Tonight Show and be like, I don't like Trump. If you support him, I think you're dumb, right? That's a political opinion. It's quite another if you went on there and were like, I don't like Trump. If you read my books and you supported Trump, don't buy my books anymore.
Yeah, that's a bit crazier.
Yeah, that's a dumb fucking thing to say, right? But this is what the comic pros, a lot of them, have been doing over the last couple of years. Like, you know, if you're a Trump supporter, if you're this, if you're that, if you're politically intolerant, if you're blah, 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 don't buy my books. I'm not writing books for you. Don't buy the books. Just don't buy them. They're not for you, right?
Well, it's a good thing I don't listen to what any of them have to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the comic industry. I have to at least be aware, especially since the way the bigger pros act influence the way the smaller guys act, right? So I gotta know when hiring people who's kind of already insulted half a potential fan base and who hasn't, you know? And who's likely to go on Twitter and start mouthing off and saying some stupid shit and drive away potential, 20,000 people or whatever. Right?
Right.
So, in any case, David, Katie, and Lay Mime are already in the comic shop. Or not David. Katie, Zeke, and Lay Mime are in the comic shop. And in the story has been set up thus far like the Popper and his crew are kind of the cool kids, and Lay Mime and his crew are kind of the nerds. So it's like, who does the comic shop now belong to now that they've discovered these things and they want to buy them? Is it the hangout spot for the cool kids or is it the hangout spot for the nerds?
Nerds.
And at the same time, it's kind of parodying what's going on in the comic industry, but not overly,
So it has to be fun.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I don't want it to be an in-your-face parody. It's more just like, if you know what's going on in the comic industry, you might find this a little bit funnier, And the correct answer, by the way, is that the comic shop should be for everybody. But the cover is... Yeah, I'm a nerd, yeah. But the cover is great. It's an homage to X-Men number 100 cover, which I know you can't see right now because you have no phone.
Nope.
But it's got the, team split up in half with Professor X in the middle, and they're about to fight each other, right? And so this has the nerds on one side and the cool kids on the other, with the Piper in the middle screaming, "Don't break my stuff." And then in the very forefront of the panel, or of the cover, is going to be Sally getting ready to open up a box that's like a Funko Pop style Mr. Muffkins. So the cover is great, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun doing this story.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it should be. Should be great. And then after that, we're going to be doing a baseball story that's going to be featuring some cameos from some other creators' properties.
Like?
Potentially Warrior Innkeeper Comics. Potentially Alan's. I think I ran it past Alan to have Corpse Cop and Johnny Vega appear, but I'm going to have to run it past him again. So, and potentially Captain Cure, Ty's character. I know I want him to appear in Mini Slingers in some way, shape, or form.
They're all going to be playing a baseball game?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be the kids from the Mini Slingers town versus
these other kids.
Yeah, these other kids.
Some other town.
Yeah, and I want to get lots of digs in.
From Shelbyville.
Basically. I want to get lots of digs in on the Black Suit of Death for looking too much like Doom 2099. So... So, in any case, that's basically what's going on with Mini Slingers right now for the summer.
And then all the parents are going to start a brawl in the parking lot.
Yeah, we set it up so... Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. But we set it up so that when they return to school, it's going to be class elections.
Then there can be a scramble in the middle with all the kids running out there onto the field, or diamond, whatever they call it in baseball. And it's just like a big old... cartoon sort of dust storm. It's called both,
just so you know.
Dust storm kicking up.
The diamond is the basis. The field is where the diamond's at.
Well, yeah, but I think that
there's
people
outfield,
probably
right
a bit
field,
more
left field.
Specific when you...
Did you ever play baseball as a kid?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. It's no less boring than any other sport. With the exception of boxing, martial arts, hockey, the really physical stuff.
Yeah, hockey's not boring. That's a good sport.
No,
Right there.
hockey's not boring. We broke so many hockey sticks when we played sock hockey in gym when I was in high school.
We didn't get a.
That was like our main thing that we wanted to do. It seemed like was just break every single hockey stick they had there.
As long as you broke them on other kids.
We'd break them like sword fighting with them, and then.
No, you got to break them checking a kid into the wall.
Yeah, they weren't as easy to break that way, but we could break them by whacking them into each other. And we whacked plenty of kids. You know, if you were playing we played it with our shoes, so I don't know if you still call it sock hockey or not, but in any case, you had to whack everybody you possibly could in the ankle, whether they were on your team or not. That's the fun in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like when they make you play soccer, you kick everybody in the ankle when they're running towards you with the ball.
Yeah, the closest I got to play baseball was in that sort of thing. But every time I would hit the ball, it would just, like, fly straight. As in, straight out towards everyone standing there.
And then they'd catch it?
One girl got hit in the face.
Oh, God. She get hurt?
She's okay after a while.
After a while.
Yeah, people started moving when I came up to bat. They'd clear out the middle section because for some reason it would not fly up in the air. It would only fly straight.
Yeah, so in addition to that, El Bovine Muerte number 6 is currently being worked on, so that's pretty awesome. I finally got the script to where I was totally happy with it, which I should have had done a long time ago, but I didn't. So I posted a pinup recently by Melissa Spandery that has female mime, La Mime, or whatever we want to call her, looking like, was it Rosie Wrench or something like that? You know, the Yes We Can.
Oh, yeah.
40s poster.
The flexing
Yes.
and all that.
Yeah, so it's La Mime, I'm just going to call her, doing that with the same color scheme from that poster. So I'm
La
actually
Mime
going to
works.
make that a poster that is available for purchase at some point because I'm still planning on building the Lay Mime campaign website. And I'm going to have all those posters available for purchase on there and t-shirts and things like that.
That'll be funny. That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be great. So yeah, in any case, I think issue number 6 is going to be really good. It probably won't start posting until after the summer, though, I'm thinking. It's going to take a bit of time. So probably around September.
Is that going to feature any campaign stuff, too?
Yes. Yeah. So...
Yeah, that's a good time then to start doing it because, I mean, political people are already starting right now, but it doesn't really pick up
in
for a
continuity
while.
of what the stories have been, right? But I decided that Lay Mime's campaign for presidency is actually a part of continuity. So, without giving away too much, it does delve into that a bit. But you got to remember they're still in the future at this point. So this is the future Lay Mime with the future general and Robert and David and the Pauper. But the current day Muerte and Bethany are there with them. So
Who's going to be running against the Lay Mime?
yeah, that's a good question. I was thinking about having 2 guys that I just like doing the Futurama thing, totally ripping off Futurama, where they're just have different color ties, but they're identical in every way except for that. I kind of like that idea because he's not going to run as a Republican or a Democrat. Come on.
No. What's his party going to be, too? You got to figure
His
that
own
out.
party.
Yeah, but he's got to have some sort of name for it.
He does. I haven't figured it out yet, but I don't want him to be Libertarian or Greenpeace or any of that. I just want him to be like, you know, kind of like the Purge did when they did the new Founding Fathers, you know?
I didn't watch that new one with the election year. Didn't they call it that or something?
Election Year was the third one. Purge the Island is
Didn't
the
see that
newest
one either.
Okay, so that one had...
That was supposed to be the first. Like,
It's a prelude.
Purge. Yeah.
So, and it had Marissa Tomei in it.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they've had any actual big stars in any of them since the first one. Had Ethan Hawke and Cersei Lannister in the first one, but then they didn't really do any. The lady from Election Year, she's known. She was in Lost and stuff like that, but I couldn't tell you what her name is.
The second one one of the main bad guys, you know, I couldn't tell you his name, but you see him and you
recognize him. Yeah.
And then the main guy in it, he was that Skull and Bones guy or whatever they call him from Captain America.
He is?
Yeah.
Oh. I realized that. Well, he looks like he could have been the Punisher, but I do really like John Berthenol's Punisher, but
that guy was a good Punisher.
He's a great Punisher. I love him.
Yeah.
In that's got to be my favorite Marvel series. I think it's better than any of their movies, better than any of their other TV shows.
And they had to go and cancel it.
I know. I hope they bring it back though now that they bought Hulu.
Well, it was on Netflix.
Yeah.
Well, they have to wait. You still have a couple of years.
Yeah, unless Disney wants to pay Netflix to.
It's whatever they have to pay him is
that.
fucking pocket change because Disney's an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy anything they want.
Yeah, and they just bought Hulu. You think they bought Hulu so that they don't have content to put up on it?
Fuck them.
Yeah. So, in any case, the election year was really good. It's impossible to watch it having lived through the election and not see all the parallels.
Oh, yeah.
They
totally had to.
Yeah. And it's more with the new Founding Fathers Party and Donald Trump. The woman is so much more likable than Hillary Clinton that you really don't see too many parallels there. Because Hillary is not a likable person. Did they
do that one on the 4th of July as well?
Yeah. So I think every single one of them have been released on the 4th of July.
I don't know about the first. The first or
yeah,
second,
the first one may not have been.
Election year, I remember that.
Election year was.
That one definitely was.
So that's the one I was talking about.
That was the third one.
You definitely see things with like Donald Trump and the new Founding Fathers, and and that one delves a lot more into the new Founding Fathers Party. So you figure out a lot more of that kind of stuff in that. It's good. It's really good. The fourth one had a different director, and I think it suffered a bit because of that. Because when they did the action sequencing, it was shot more like an action movie than any of the other movies were. Where the other movies just used more realistic takes on any of the action, this one actually did like slowdowns and
they were more
extreme
gritty,
close-ups and
gritty shaky cam almost. Sort of.
Yeah,
Not quite
this was
cam,
less gritty shaky cam and more like, okay, it's action time. Let's go into the Matrix mode sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Ugh.
And so the action scenes did make that one suffer a bit. But besides that, it was actually pretty damn good. And I like the concept of seeing how the first Purge played out. But there's not going to be a Purge in El Bovine Muerte. I'll just go ahead and spoil that for you right now. In case you were hoping for one.
Is the cheese going to come into play?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and if anything gets purged, maybe Le Mime will do away with those nasty-ass craft singles.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
It'd be a good little thing.
Just get rid of all those from all the stores. I would love it if I never had to see those congealed-looking things ever again in my life.
Oh, they're so weird.
They don't even remotely look like cheese when you actually look at them up close.
Yeah, but you can throw them at someone's face and they'll stick to it.
I know, it's gross. So anyway, got that going on, and then starting a new project with Joel. At the same time, we're currently working to bring issue number 4 to a wrap as well. But
that's quite a bit. And starting a whole new thing.
Yeah, starting a new thing, but it's kind of not starting in a way because it's something I've been working on forever. And Joel's the right artist to do it, so.
You gonna say what that is?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I'm having him do design work for a Chronicles of Van Helsing action figure set.
So fancy. Like fully moving sort of action?
Yeah, articulated action figures. So these are something that I'm thinking will probably be going to Kickstarter. And much like the Chronicles of Van Helsing hardcover, I need to get my warehouse so that I can actually run these Kickstarters. Because I am maxed for the space I can take up in my house. And I don't want to get a storage shed. I want to get a warehouse.
Garage sale.
Well, there's going to be a garage sale next week, thank God, because maybe I can get rid of a ton of this stuff that wasn't worth putting on eBay. But
all this random crap that people like to bring you.
Oh, so much random shit that people bring me. So much. Of like a troll penny bank from the 1970s over there that I listed the other day. that looks, the old trolls that actually have the long hair.
Yeah.
Not a thing like they look today. It looks like one of those, but it's giant sized. It's like 12 inches tall.
Sounds like something someone would want to buy.
And its head comes off because it's a penny bank. It's just so weird.
You think someone's going to buy that?
I actually put on eBay for like $40, and I imagine I'll get that.
Damn.
Yeah, it probably won't be a quick sell, but I will get it eventually. And that kind of thing I don't mind having in my store because, you'd see that kind of stuff at comic cons, And that's kind of my litmus test for do I want them in my eBay store long term or not. Is this something that you would see at a Comic Con? Because I try to keep my eBay store as collectibles and comics and action figure oriented as possible. But that's one thing that Garage Sale helped me out with because I'm so fucking tired of all these neckties. I have like 2 boxfuls of neckties, and they do not fit with my eBay store.
Are you doing any cons this summer?
Well, we did Frankenstein and Sasquatch already, and I'm currently waiting to hear back from the Hillsborough Public Library about when they're having their comic days. As long as they're still doing that this year, I would absolutely love to do that. The exception of that, no. I will be doing Frankenstein when it comes up again in November. I might hit up a few just to go to for an hour or two, take the kids, do that kind of thing. But I'm not looking to table or booth at very many because at the moment I'm just really putting my focus on these new ventures and getting a warehouse and all that stuff. And, I don't have a lot of time to do anything else.
Very time-consuming stuff.
It is, because I'm still working on coloring the Chronicles of Van Helsing pages and doing all the corrections there.
So you can finally get a hardcover.
Yeah, I'm
and
working
finally see
on
it in cover,
making sure that all the Darkslinger
color.
stuff is actually available for purchase online, because I found out a number of it isn't.
Jeez.
I'm like, I have this massive eBay store and my own stuff isn't even listed in it. What the fuck?
Got everything listed but your own.
Right? So I was going through one of the boxes. I'm like, oh, this isn't listed. This isn't listed. Okay. So I'm kind of, getting those taken care of. And hopefully that'll take down some space too. But yeah, I need to get all these projects either moving or done, But the action figures, that's not going to be anything that I'm aiming to do this year. That's just, this is a first step. Then I'll be finding somebody to do the sculpting. And then that, then this, and kind of just move from there. It'll take some time, but it's going to be worth it when it's all done.
So what characters are you going to feature for your figurines or
for the
action
first
figures,
line,
whatever you want to call them?
Action figures. They're not figurines.
I guess
because
figurines
they'll actually
are
move
small.
and all that, yeah. So, and they don't move. They're not articulated.
Okay.
So for the action figure line...
Well, could you have an action figure and a figurine that are the same size and one just doesn't move?
Yeah.
That's the difference?
Yes.
Or are you just making that up and bullshitting me?
No, that's actually what the difference is.
All right, good enough for me.
Because you could have a 7-inch figurine. I think after it gets above a certain height, though, it'd be more commonly called a statue.
Oh, okay.
Which I actually also have in the works, if you're unaware. You've seen those, though, right? Because I've had the prototypes for both of them done for years.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Okay. So, for the first line, I'm kind of sticking with the characters that appeared in the first volume. So, I'm, of course, having Robert.
Me.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not Robert Van Helsing.
No.
Because you make a lot more sense to put in there.
I do.
So, having Robert, having Jeannie. Going to have a Sally with Mr. Muffkins. And going to have 2 versions of Warren. So, the old man bearded version of Warren. And then in full-on vampire mode like Tony drew him in Chronicles of Van Helsing #1, Warren. And then a vamped-out Zeke. I might do a regular Zeke in later action figure series. Make him like he appears when he's just in his human form or before he became a vampire. But maybe even put little vampire teeth track marks all over his arms from where Sally gnaws on him. Which could arguably be cool, but... The Sally, actually, it may not be a bad idea because Sally's such a small figure if I do a 2-pack where it's 14-year-old Zeke that has bite marks all over his arms with Sally.
So it's like 7 different...
6 to 7 figures in total. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing other characters in later series if this is successful enough to warrant more than one series. But of course, the big one is Robert. Got to get Robert in there. And if you got Robert, you kind of have to have Zeke too, because they're the polar opposites that pull the book together. And they're twin brothers. So,
would it just be straight action figure sort of thing, or are you gonna have like weapons and shit like that? Little.
They will come with accessories.
Yeah, there you go, accessories.
Yeah, they're gonna come with accessories. Yeah, so the max figure height for the line will be 7 inches. And I'm making it... I want to do something similar to what Todd McFarlane did in the early days of Spawn, where they look cool as something to display, and they're something that a kid could actually play with. So not so hyper designed where they look more like a statue with just a few moving parts, but where, they look really cool. They look like something that actually came straight out of the comics, and it's durable enough to play with.
Gonna take quite a bit of designing.
Well, that's why I have Joel, and I know he's good, so I'm not too worried about that.
Well, I guess he'd be designing it, and then you need to find someone to actually
do the sculpting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few different options for that. You can either do the sculpting and then have everything cast off that, or you could actually find somebody after Joel's stage to do a 3D model of it and have copies of it 3D modeled and then do a mold based off that.
These days, that whole 3D thing is quite big. I don't know if that's still a really big thing, but...
It is. Yeah, it's a very big thing.
Might be a good way to go. It's probably a little cheaper that way.
It's tough to say, actually, because casts still have to be made in a certain way, and you'd have to print it with a certain material and do all this kind of stuff. And so I'm not sure if it's cheaper or not yet. I'm actually looking into that.
You gotta paint them all.
Yeah. Yep. Either way you go about it, they're going to have to be painted. But you just do one figure that's a master paint figure, and the rest of them are like your other, your uncolored prototypes. I used to actually own a number of prototype action figures. Yeah. And it's strange because they do these figures that are called, I think they're called 2-ups, and they're twice the size is the action figure that actually gets sold at stores. But I'm not entirely positive why they do those. I guess just so they can put more detail on them. And then shrink it down for the mass production.
Then you gotta sit there for hours and paint each one.
I don't. I'm not going to do any of the painting.
Have someone else do it for you.
Yeah, that's why I hire people. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. I don't think one of my strengths is sitting there and painting an action figure.
Yeah, I don't think you could do that.
I don't think so either. I don't think I'd have the patience for that. I don't even have the patience to put together our paper dolls.
No.
All the paper dolls have been assembled by either my kids or Alex at a con.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. You definitely need to find someone else.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe Alex would be talented enough to sit there and paint it, but
he might enjoy
chances are whoever I have sculpt will also be doing the painting on the paint prototype.
Yeah, if you had him painting, he'd probably paint whatever he felt like on some of them.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be so good.
You get a little bored.
Yeah. So, in any case, I'm really hoping to roll out the first wave. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do this crowdfunding-wise. So, I'm probably going to be hitting up Kickstarter after I get the Chronicles of Van Helsing hardcover all fulfilled and all that.
Do you expect to you trying to launch that one this year?
I would really like to. Yeah, so my order of kind of operations here is I'm getting the roof for my house. And as soon as that's done, some of the money is being diverted to go towards warehouse.
Is the warehouse for like storage and shit?
The warehouse is a multifaceted thing. So, number one, it would be really, really nice to not live amongst my eBay inventory. So, to be able to get all of my eBay inventory in there solves a few things. Number one, it makes it so that I actually have a bedroom. Number two, the space that I dedicate to work in my bedroom can actually be used for things like writing and working on the computer and things like that. And it doesn't have to be this, everything is in my way, I'm tripping over everything all the time sort of, So it solves the issue of where can I put things? Hey, can I actually buy this comic collection? Because I have no space for it, right? So I got to worry about that if I do that. The other thing that it solves with eBay inventory is it makes it a lot easier to differentiate between what's listed and what's not. So when I bring stuff into the warehouse, it goes right here, and hey, there's like a $350 thing in here. I'll pull that first, get that listed first, and, kind of go from there. And that makes it so that I'm able to put the more expensive stuff ahead in line instead of having to do the little stuff just because it's in the way. You know what I mean? So it helps me out immensely as an eBay seller. On the Darkslinger side, it gives me a place to safely store all my convention stuff, all of my inventory, because, I have like 2,000 copies of Ghost Assassin in my house right now. That takes up a lot of space. I think I have 500 copies of Who Will Save the World still, 400 to 500. That takes up a lot of space.
That one's easy to get rid of, though.
Yeah, but I'm not willing to do that. I have something like 1,000 copies between all the copies I have left of Chronicles of Van Helsing and Elbow Vine Muerte. And then the posters, the banners, there's a lot of stuff taking up a lot of space. It's Darkslinger stuff, too. And so if I kind of have a dedicated space in the warehouse, hey, this is a Darkslinger corner over here. The other thing is it'll finally allow me to start on my new business that I have to have a warehouse for. But I'm not going to say what that business is quite yet.
Fair enough.
But it will solve a lot of dilemmas, a lot of issues. And it'll be nice just to have a dedicated space for all of my work.
How close to launching that for the hardcover?
Mm-hmm.
How close to that are you?
I'm not.
Not? No.
Not. I need to. So, here's the basic thing. Once I get the warehouse, I can start rolling out new products. So, Ghost Assassin number 2 needs a whole whopping 10 pages colored. And then it's ready for print. I'm not going to take that to Kickstarter. I'm just going to move ahead with it. But I can't start distributing it the way that I want to distribute it until I have the warehouse. Now, why that is something that we'll go into in a later episode. But I'm not going through Diamond. I'm just circumventing that whole process right there. I have a very specific way that I want to distribute it. And if it goes correctly, Ghost Assassin new issues are going to be out on a every other month basis. So, for the Chronicles of Van Helsing hardcover, there's a lot more work than just 10 pages that need to be colored. I have to go through and make sure that all the artwork is ready for coloring. And basically what I mean by that is there are some things in issues number 2 through 6, especially number 6, that should have been stopped a bit more at the editorial stage that weren't. Those things need some corrections. Most of them are really small. Like this hair looks really weird in black and white. It's going to look even stranger when it's colored. Things like that. Little things that need to be fixed. But after I get all those done, and I have all of those done for issue number 2 now. All those are done, and I've done some of the color work already for issue number 2. But as soon as all those are done, then it's to the coloring phase. Then after the coloring phase, I have to re-letter everything because Chronicles of Van Helsing and Elbow Vine Muerte are the 2 books that I use to learn how to letter. Because of that, issues number 2, 3, 4, and 5 of Chronicles of Van Helsing suffer greatly from poor lettering that could be a lot better now that I know how to letter a lot. A lot better. So I'm going back through and redoing that, making sure that, there are no spelling mistakes, no grammatical mistakes, because I did find out in issue number 2, I had the wrong usage of your. That pissed me off when I saw that.
What an idiot.
I know. Made me feel very, very stupid. But in any case, and made me feel like Kate was stupid because she was the editor at that time and she did not catch that. But in any case, I need to go back through. I need to re-letter, make sure that, everything's the way I want it. One of the things I'm doing that I should have done when the issues were printed initially is putting years at the beginning of each issue. So, Chronicles jumps around a lot more than Ghost Assassin or EBM or any of those. It would be helpful if you knew what year you were in when you started reading the story.
Yeah, I could definitely get behind that.
Yeah, so I'm going to start adding in years, and I'm going to color it and do all that. And then after all that's said and done, I still have to find somebody that I feel comfortable with going for the printing of the hardcover. I have to get a price locked down with them, have to do all that kind of stuff. And then, by that point, I'll have the warehouse, so I don't have to worry about any physical space they're going to take up. But all the same, say I print up 1,000 hardcover books, that's going to take up a lot more space than 2,000 single-issue comics.
Yeah, those are a bit bigger.
Yeah.
A bit bulkier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, in any case, that's I would really love to launch it this year. Whether or not that's practical or going to happen, I have no idea. I'm not going to rush anything. I'm not going to cut any corners just to make it happen this year.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll see is the easiest way to phrase that.
Don't end up putting shit out.
No. But I'm willing to say that for sure Ghost Assassin issue number 1 and 2 will start distributing to stores this year.
That's great. So then
Possibly number 3. Because number 3 only needs coloring. And lettering, of course.
So
no,
then,
actually, I already got all the lettering done on that one.
So then soon enough, number 2 should be coming out then.
Yes. Yeah, once again, because the way I'm distributing these, I need the space. I don't have the space in my house. So I've got to get the warehouse. And as soon as the warehouse is here, then everything goes into production that I've been holding off on because of space restrictions. And that also means potential of doing some newsprint editions too, that I've spoke about previously.
Setting up a lot of things, man.
Yeah. Well, how are you ever supposed to get somewhere if you don't?
I don't know, man. That's a lot of moving parts.
Yes. My whole life is full of moving parts, though. So.
Like some goddamn Swiss watch.
Is it too many moving parts for you?
Maybe not as finely tuned.
Definitely not as finely tuned, but imagine how finer the tuning is going to be after I have my warehouse.
Hopefully pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, the warehouse, and then I need the shelves to go in the warehouse. Otherwise, everything's just going to be on the floor in the warehouse. I own 3 shelves at the moment. I'm going to need a lot more.
From the ground up, man.
Yep.
You can build shelves.
I could. Or I could just have you do that.
I don't know, man. I'm expensive. like a fine escort.
Okay, so buy you a pepperoni pizza and some chunks of wood and lock you in a room for a while.
What do you think? I'm going to gnaw through it and build you up a thing?
Yeah, I think
I'll use the cheese to stick it together.
Okay, yeah, you could do that. That'd be disgusting, but
Hopefully it'll hold. It's not my stuff on the shelf.
Yeah, that's true. So before we close out tonight, you read anything good recently?
Well, I'm in the middle of comics-wise. No, I'll put that right out there. So this is going to be a comics-wise. I am, before I broke my phone, I was in the middle of a book in a series. It's the second in a series that the third hasn't come out yet. I don't remember what the guy's name is that makes it, but the first one was The Name of the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, I couldn't tell you what the name is, but it's a really interesting story. It's a different sort of magic system, high fantasy sort of thing.
Okay.
There's different things that you can learn in terms of magic. Like The Name of the Wind, there's different names for things like wind, fire, earth, water.
Okay.
In the series, knowing the name of something is power over it.
Oh, okay.
And, people call it the wind, but when you actually call it by its name, you can control it, and people around you only hear you calling it like wind or fire, because the name is so complex that you can't hear it.
So your brain just hears what it wants to hear, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Huh.
It's it's really interesting, but it's in audiobook form. Since I don't have much time, that's how I do it. It's 45 hours.
Oh, wow.
I'm only halfway through it.
That's a lot of hours.
Yeah. And I'm splitting my time between that one and another series that's called The Blade Itself. I don't remember what the name of the series is that.
Mm-hmm.
That one kind of threw me for a loop when I made it through the first one. I haven't started the second one first because it sets up the story extremely well. But I made it through the whole first book, and that was 24 hours, just about, I think it was. And I felt like I still had no idea what the story was about.
Wow.
But not in a bad way. I was just like, wow, I made it through, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know where I'm going.
So it's not like you just lost track of it?
No, like you can keep track of it, but it
Have you ever had that happen when you were reading a book?
You lose track of what's going on?
Yeah, like,
oh, yeah.
And then you realize that you never knew what was going on in this book to begin with?
Yeah, for a second I thought that I was missing something, but...
Okay. That happened to me really badly when I read The Historian?
I don't know that book.
Okay, I got about halfway through it, and I'm just like, wait, what the fuck was this book about?
If I had... that would tend to happen for me, trying to read... like really old things that aren't written the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's easier to get lost on something like the Iliad or something like that.
Okay.
I've gotten lost on that just because, I might
give you credit for trying to read it.
I might get mixed up in my head, like when you're reading a normal book,
mm-hmm.
you get mixed up a little, like you're thinking about other things at the time might pop into your head and you're like, oh, back on track now.
Right.
With that, I could get a little more off track, a little bit more easily.
I can see that, but
just
how many
it's a
people do you know
style.
that would even try to read that? Me.
A few,
but who
not
else?
Many. Not many people.
Yeah, not many. So hey, at least you tried reading it.
But The Name of the Wind, if you like fantasy, I'd recommend it because the guy that wrote it...
I like a limited amount of fantasy.
The dude is extremely descriptive,
mm-hmm.
and it's really amazing the way that he builds the story, and it's not quite like anything I've read before.
Uh-huh.
He's gotten a lot of high praise, and he's taken a long time to put out the third one because, he wants to make sure that it's right and it's really working well. I think just to read the way that he puts everything together and he describes it, he's very descriptive. Because, I don't know, he has to be. His main character is sort of like a theater guy, his family, they're like gypsies. They travel around a lot. They're troops.
Okay.
And they put on shows. So everything is very descriptive.
Oh, okay. So they're like a theater company that's going around?
Yeah. And in the beginning, like, everyone that he knows is murdered. And he has this really hard life, and he doesn't tell anybody about it. So... you're like, if you would just fucking explain yourself to people, it would make it easier. But it feels a little bit more like, a secret that someone would keep. You kind of understand it. It's really good, though. You don't have a lot of time, so you might not ever get to it. But it's
a good possibility I'll never get time to the books I already own, and I keep buying more. So yeah.
So I'd made it through a couple of those, and I didn't finish the Sandman Slim series, but I think I've done like 5 or 6 in that.
There's quite a few.
Yeah, it almost seemed like it was kind of coming down from the arc that it started in the first one by the end of number 5. And I like what they do there with the angels and demons and God and Lucifer and all that.
Those are some of my favorite stories. Speaking of which, have you watched the new season of Lucifer yet?
I haven't. Is it good?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, just it holds up then?
Yes, I think it actually... quality-wise went a bit more towards the second season than the first season. Because the third, while really good, had some dips in it,
Yeah.
I would say that they went more towards the second and first in terms of quality. But one of the things I thought was funny is, since the Netflix show, one of the things I'm wondering going into it, with how much sex was in the other seasons, is how far are they going to push this? What are they going to show, right? They still cut it as though they're going to show it on TV at some point. So it still seems like it's cut for commercial breaks. But I'm just going to go ahead and spoil this for you. I thought it was funny because the only nudity you see, and you see it again and again and again throughout the fourth season, is Lucifer's ass.
Yeah, I figured.
So there's so many reasons to show Lucifer's ass. Apparently, they just like have to keep showing it. And it's just like, okay, so you're on Netflix now, you can show nudity in this way you choose to show every time. It's pretty funny, I thought.
There's a great part with the whole Lucifer and God and angels and demons and things that I don't know when you'll ever get to, if you will ever bother to read Sandman Slim, so I'm going to spoil it now because it's really cool.
So spoiler.
Yeah. So God isn't the original creator of the universe in that.
Okay.
He took it from these old ancient beings, tricked them, locked them away in a different little section of reality, and created his own.
Okay.
But then the dude has a mental breakdown and splits it.
God does?
God himself splits into 5 different pieces.
Oh.
Because he made this thing and the angels rebel and all this shit. Lucifer is cast out and he just can't take it and he mentally breaks down and
that's
and
interesting.
He splits apart into 5 different pieces.
I would definitely be interested in picking that up.
You don't figure that, you don't learn that until partway through the second book.
You telling me that, though, makes me actually a lot more likely to start reading that. So who wrote that series?
Richard Cadre.
Okay, I don't know that name.
I had neither. Some chick that I was seeing had it on her shelf. She suggested it, and I started to read the first few pages, and I was like, all right. I'll get into
reading it seemed more interesting to you than sex with her? Is that what you're saying?
No.
That's what you were saying. That's what I'm taking out of it.
Well, I mean, you must. But it's really interesting, and Lucifer, he's still a classy guy in it as always. And heaven and certain angels aren't exactly what you think.
Well, that makes sense.
And
really.
Some of them hate humanity. They hate Nephilim even more.
So it's kind of going with like the prophecy movies then, in a way.
I don't know. I didn't see those.
Okay, because that's kind of one of the overarching themes in the prophecy. Is the angels, whether they're fallen or, just the still current angels, they hate humans because they're talking hairless apes. And they're always trying to prevent Nephilim.
Oh, well then, yeah. Except people in hell don't hate them as much. People in hell hate themselves more. They hate hell.
Okay, so the angels that went to hell hate themselves?
They hate where they're at.
Okay.
Eventually, it's just like nothing is better than not existing to them.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's really interesting. It's not all the books are as good as some of them. Some are better than others, but it's pretty interesting, and they weave other stories around. He tells it all in a very quick amount of time throughout all the books. Like, all of them, it's only been maybe a year. So there's a lot of shit that happens in that 1 year. And the main character, he gets a little bit nicer as it goes on, but he's an asshole.
Well, I like that.
Through the whole thing.
I don't like characters that are straight up good or straight up bad.
No, he does some good things, but a lot of it he's just like, yeah, fuck you.
That is the main way I write, Mini slingers might be a little bit different, but then again, they're all selfish because they're kids, and all kids are selfish. So, but I don't think you should ever write any character to be straight up one way or the other.
And they do it.
That's a weak ass character. If it's like everything is just because if their motivation is to do this to be good, that's a good motivation. If they do this because they're just straight up good, that's flawed, that's stupid, and nobody's going to give a shit about that, And
it kind of has that, how in the movie of Hellblazer, why am I... Constantine. Yeah, that and Dylan Dog, where there's that little side world.
Right.
They have that sort of thing going on, too.
Okay. Have you ever read any of the Constantine or Hellblazer
I
comics?
have not.
Oh, okay. You should. Originally he looked just like Steen.
Yeah. I've read that.
Yeah. It's funny. I have no idea why. I cannot remember Alan Moore's collaborator on the first stories?
Sting.
No, it definitely wasn't Sting, and that's what makes it even funnier.
Yeah, did they do that to make him more appealing to people or something like that?
Maybe Sting was really appealing to people back then. I don't know.
Sting was the panty dropper, I guess.
I guess so. I don't know. I always thought he was kind of weird looking, but
oh yeah, I mean if that helps you to get to read it, it's pretty good. You know, there's some things when you're like, a little bit poor writing, but
if it's just here and there, I can overlook it.
It's entertaining.
How many books are there in the series in total? Do you know?
I don't know. There's got to be. I think I finished 5 or 6, and I think there's probably around 7 or 8 out.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. I mean,
they're small.
I read the Dark
books.
Tower series, which was that, and I didn't even want to read any of them once I started reading number 5, and I still finished it. So horrible. It's a Stephen King series.
Yeah. I saw the awful movie.
Okay, I have not seen the awful movie, but
I didn't watch it.
He got in his car accident before the 5th book came out. And so I'm starting to read the 5th book, and I'm like, oh no, Stephen King's actually going to put himself in this at some point as a character who's getting ran over by a car. Because like everything he wrote there for a while after his car accident was him getting ran over by a car, right? From Buick 8 had like the scene with this guy getting ran over by a car like 12 times. And I get it. It was traumatic. He was using his craft to work through it. I respect that. But the books kept going downhill, and it kind of seemed like, okay, you took like 30 years to release the first 4 Dark Tower books. Maybe just like don't rush these last 3. But instead he rushed them and got them all out within like 3 years time period, right? In the last book, sure as shit, Stephen King is a character in it who's getting ran over by a car, and his characters have to save him. And I'm just like, God damn it. I knew I should have stopped with number 5.
That's when you just throw it out, stop reading it.
But what I've been reading lately is a big, fat, thick Punisher omnibus. It's the Garth Ennis Punisher omnibuses, volume 1. I think there are 3 from just him in total. It's like 1,100 page.
Jesus.
Yeah, collected hardcover.
That's massive.
Yeah, so far I've made it through, I don't know how many pages, but I made it through 12 issues thus far. No, 13 issues thus far.
How many issues are supposed to be in it?
I think standardly those omnibus editions have like 30 or something like that. So anyway, it's fucking awesome. Whether you like Punisher, Garth Ennis, any of that. Garth Ennis wrote the best Punisher there was. Most of what you know, if you've seen the Netflix show or the Tom Jane movie or any of that, came from something in Garth Ennis's books.
So pretty dark, pretty brutal.
Dark, brutal, yeah. And, you know, it's not a Frank Castle that really gives a fuck about anything. So in the Tom Jane movie, they did try to humanize him with giving him a family and all that. Where the TV show I thought got a little bit better, where he almost gets close to humans, but then he's like, nah, fuck that. So Garth Ennis is more like that. You know, he's got some sympathy for these humans that aren't criminals, but it's not very much. Because he's like, I can't afford to care about you.
He separates himself a lot.
Right, like, don't be saying you're my family or any shit like that. But anyway, that's enough for this week. Next week, hopefully there'll be some updates on, you know, all the stuff that I'm hoping to accomplish.
Here's hoping.
Adam Watson.
Robert Diaz.
Thank you for listening.